The soil temperature at the first palm depth is -2 this morning. I know this because I checked it, the way I check everything. The compressed frost layer from overnight makes the plant's grip harder. You pull, the earth resists, the stem bends first, and you think you've lost the potato. Then it releases. One clean pull when you find the angle. About 11 per row before the fingers stop registering temperature as a variable and register it as a fact. 11 months at 3,850 meters. I harvest 40 rows on a good morning. The altitude costs you roughly 20% of what you'd produce at sea level. The body is conservative with oxygen, and conservative with oxygen means conservative with everything. I've adapted. 11 months is long enough for basic acclimatization, though the morning headaches took about 6 weeks to stop. My mental arithmetic is slowed. I used to run P&L calculations in my head. Now I write things down. Mark to market. Every position valued at today's price, not what you paid for it. It's the most honest accounting there is. The fund required it daily. I applied it to exactly one thing in 28 years. Here is what I know about now. The frost arrives at the Altiplano every night at altitude. Not approximately, not usually, every night. The Suca-Cola channels, the raised field irrigation system the Tiwanaku people built 1,500 years ago, the same infrastructure the Mamani family still uses. The channels hold thermal mass that protects the root zone from the worst of it. The ancient engineers understood this. They built the mitigation into the land itself. No terminal required. I maintain one channel. That is my primary daily task. The Cordillera Real is visible to the east when the sky is clear. Permanent snow on the upper ridge line. Lake Titicaca sits on the northern horizon in good light, a flat blue line that might be cloud if you're not watching carefully. 11 months in, and I watch carefully. No traffic, no broadcast. The Mamani family's llamas about 200 meters north. Distant dogs in the village at night. It is the quietest place I have ever been by a margin I cannot calculate. February 14, 2022, Valentine's Day. I noted it because I checked dates. I wrote the wind-down letter to my limited partners. 4 pages, specific, accurate. Meridian Quantitative Capital LP, AUM $14.2 billion at peak. Sharp ratio 1.73 across 28 years. Founded 1994 with $47 million from 7 family offices. 28 years. The number means what it means. I called each LP personally instead of mailing it. I kept one printed copy. I ran the numbers. The capital required to never manage other people's money again came to a figure I had already exceeded. The decision was therefore straightforward. The call to Frank DeLuca took 11 minutes. Frank is 71, Pittsburgh family office, $200 million in the fund since 2003, 19 years. He cried on the phone, not immediately. About 4 minutes in, after I finished the technical explanation of the wind-down timeline and custody transfer process. I wrote down the call start time and the call end time in my notebook, 11 minutes and 14 seconds. I don't know why I wrote that down. I wrote it down the way I write everything down. That's the accurate description. Q1 2020, the COVID trade. The models read cross-asset correlation signals. I'll spare you the mechanics, but the short version is that the divergence between implied volatility and realized volatility in late February 2020 was visible to a signal-agnostic system, approximately 4 days before it was visible to human analysts reading the news. We reversed the short volatility positioning. Long vol into the collapse. March 18, 2020, P&L dashboard, plus $943 million year to date. I remember watching the news simultaneously. Deaths, closures, photographs of empty airports. The signal doesn't know what it's measuring. That's a feature, not a bug. Raj Mehta, 38, lead quant, the only person I worked closely with for 11 consecutive years. Raj said that once, explaining the model architecture to a new analyst. I was sitting at my desk when he said it. I wrote it down. By end of April, plus $1.847 billion. I ran the numbers. The fund had done exactly what it was designed to do. I looked at the P&L and looked at the news and looked at the P&L. Nothing needed adjusting. Christine left in 2019. We had been married 22 years. She said something I wrote down verbatim. You live in the models, and I live in the house. I had priced that relationship at the 1994 valuation. I never ran a fresh comps analysis. She did, and she found the marks didn't support the thesis. That is the accurate description. Sophie is 29 now, data scientist in Boston. We communicate by text, fax, no voice calls. She sent me a text 11 months ago when she heard I had closed the fund and left. 12 words. I wrote it down in my notebook. I have not called her. I wrote, call Sophie on March 14, 11 months ago. I have turned the page. Goldman Sachs Proprietary Trading Desk, 1988. I was 24. The desk operated on a principle I internalized without being taught it formally. The position doesn't know your opinion of it. The market makes no accommodations for what you believe. You run the model. The model tells you direction and magnitude. You act on the signal. You don't editorialize. The dot-com crash, 2000 to 2002, positive returns, 3 consecutive years. The 2008 financial crisis, fund down 4.1% in a year the market fell 38%. 22 clients added capital during 2008. That was the reputation. That was the Sharpe ratio in practice. This morning I found the Sharpe card in my vest pocket. I keep it there, laminated, the size of a business card. 28 years of annual figures. I've been using the edge of it to scrape dried mud off my boot. I looked at it for a moment. I put it back. The Goldman Sachs logo on the vest chest pocket is from a firm trip to Aspen in 2007. The vest is Patagonia. It's the warmest thing I own at this altitude. The logo is small. I am aware of it. I have not thought specifically about removing it. Doña Felicia is 67. She is the matriarch of the Mamani family, the family I rent the chacra from. The negotiation was conducted in Aymara through her grandson as translator. She understood the terms before the translation was finished. I could see it in the way she waited for him to finish. She has been teaching me chuño by gesture, the process. Lay the potatoes flat outside overnight to freeze. In the morning, trample them barefoot to expel the moisture. Then leave them to dry. The result is a hard, light, centuries preservable product. We have no shared language. The instruction requires none. She does not ask why I am here. I find this efficient. Wapaborn, the Aymara language does not have a direct equivalent for the price of a thing separated from its use. Or so my borrowed Aymara Spanish dictionary suggests. I am on page 43, learning 3 new words an evening, failing to understand the grammar. A potato is worth exactly what it is in your hand. Nothing else. No bid-ask spread. No bid. No ask. I ran the numbers. There aren't any. Wapaborn, the frost arrives at 3 a.m. at this latitude and altitude. It does not miss a deadline. It does not overshoot. It does not undershoot. It arrives because the physics require it, at the pressure and temperature differentials present here, every night, without variance. It is the only signal I have found that cannot be hedged. Wapaborn, the young potato plants in the western section have shallow roots still. 3 weeks in, not deep enough to survive a hard frost on their own. Doña Felicia showed me this 3 weeks ago, pressing her thumb into the soil to the second knuckle, then shaking her head. The roots need another 10 days minimum. At dusk, I go to the section near the stone wall. There are sacking cloths in the shed, rough burlap, the kind the Mamani family uses for the harvest, and I lay them over the young rows one by one before the temperature drops. The action takes about 40 minutes. No one is watching. The frost will come regardless. The cloths raise the microclimate underneath by 2 to 3 degrees. That is enough. I fold the edges under where the wind catches them. That is what the numbers require.